Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Lauterbeck. I'm the GM of VidCon, and welcome to VidCon Now. Special treat for you today. Got good insight and analysis and some influencer marketing tips and tricks from Soyoung Kang, who is the CMO of EOS Products. Super excited to have Soyoung here today. Now, we'll be talking here, but then after we're done, we're going to go off to our Discord server for a little AMA for about 20 minutes or so. So certainly ask questions over there in that little panel to the right or the left, depending on where it is today. And but if you don't get your questions answered there, we'll talk about it in Discord as well. So with that, I'd like to introduce Soyoung. Soyoung, welcome to VidCon.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, super excited to have you. And by the way, you get the award for coming to VidCon under the most duress because you're like in the middle of a hurricane, right?
Kind of. So I hope I maintain this connection, but if everything goes like dark and black, immediately, then, you'll know exactly why. But, this is really important for me to be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate that. And I was going to say, if I see the floodwaters start to rise in your office, but that's not really where you are, right?
No, this is not my office. This is my virtual office. My office doesn't look nearly as clean or as nice as this. But do you like my decor on the wall?
I do. It's so light and bright. Now, do you change out those pictures from time to time?
I do, actually. It's sort of like my a little bit of my like quarantine hobby is tinkering around in PowerPoint and doing useless things like making Zoom backgrounds.
I
you
love
gotta
it.
Keep yourself busy.
I like that. I think that's watermelon for us today. So it's a watermelon.
That's right.
So let's jump in, and because you spend a lot of time with Zoom and other activities, but I want to talk about social media and marketing. You guys have absolutely been a leader in this as you built the company. So how do you think about marketing through social media channels? And how do you compare those social media and social video channels to sort of more traditional marketing?
I think it's a great question, and both really play a part in our marketing strategy overall. I think about traditional marketing in terms of being able to have a polished and clear control over the message. And I think of social media marketing as being a dialogue and a conversation with your audience. And those are really two different things. And
oh, there she goes. All right. So don't know if we're going to get Soyoung back, but we'll try that. I will let you know a little bit more of what's coming up on VidCon. Coming up tomorrow, same bat time, same bat place right here. We have Rob Wilson from vidIQ, who's going to do a little bit of a thumbnail workshop. So if you make videos for YouTube or other places, you're going to want to look at those thumbnails. You're going to want to work on your thumbnails, and Rob Wilson can help you with that. Right after that, we have a session with TikTok, some of the stars of TikTok, new up-and-coming stars that should be really interesting. We basically have great stuff every day from now until the middle of September, except on Sunday and Monday when you guys can rest and we can rest too. So anyway, Soyoung, I'm sure, is trying to reconnect in the middle of a storm. If we can't get her, oh wait, she's back.
I'm back. Like, I like to keep you on your toes, Jim.
That's all right.
Yeah, sorry, I lost my power for a minute there, but it came back really, really quickly. It's a bit of a
I love this. This is under duress for both of us.
It really is. I'm really sorry about that.
Don't worry.
I'm gonna, we're gonna try to make it through this. But just to go back to answering your question about social media marketing, I really do consider it's a conversation. Certainly your brand is always present, whether you're controlling the message and pushing, or whether it is a two-way dialogue. But I really consider social media marketing so unique in that we're able to to hear from our consumers, our fans, and our audience in a way that you just really don't get that feedback loop in traditional brand marketing. So it's been a huge part of the journey and the history of EOS. We really grew up during the era when social media exploded. We were one of the earliest brands on Instagram. We were one of the earliest brands to use influencers and work with influencer partners, back when it was really inexpensive. But we really, really count ourselves lucky to have had that sort of fuel as part of our journey, and how we've been able to reach so many different fans across the world, really through our influencer marketing strategies, as well as our social media presence.
Yeah, you know what I find fascinating about this, and I remember in 2008, I went to Unilever, and Unilever did this whole thing in 2008 about social media, and they brought in the founders of Twitter. They brought in us. I was running an online video company then, and a bunch of other people, and we were really trying to help these marketers understand that it was okay to let your message go and let your audience actually control some of that, it blew the minds of some of the people there. I remember the product manager from Promise Margarine just could not figure it out, although eventually did. You're as a professional marketer, how do you feel about letting your brand go and letting other people help define it for you on social media?
It's a great question, and it's one that I think continues to persist today because with the newer platforms like TikTok that have that have emerged, there's even less ability to control the message because you're asking other people to tell the message and to share their experience of your brand. But I do think that that the reality is that as marketers, we like to believe that we have 100% control over our brand story, or at least that's sort of the conventional way of thinking about it. But it's never been that way. You don't know what people are saying behind closed doors when you're only doing traditional marketing. You don't know what the dialogue is. You don't know what people's opinions are. But with social media, you get to hear it. If you're open to listening, you get to understand, and consumers get to reflect back to you their experience and understanding of your brand. And I think that's a huge gift to have that insight, because otherwise you would just know what you know from focus groups and what you think your brand stands for with your audience. So to me, it's actually a strength versus being a downside.
Yeah, it gives you such a great unfiltered look at what people really think, and then you can work with them to work on some of that. Storytelling is also a really important aspect of what you do and how you craft what EOS really is. How do you think about storytelling? How do you think about storytelling, both the stories that you tell yourself and the stories that other people tell about you?
So I think, storytelling is such an important part of what any marketer is doing, how we add value. I think that a brand is a story that's well told, right? Because people are looking for to make connection points with products and brands that go beyond just sort of like the data and the statistics, and so they want to understand what the story is, what the emotion is, what the essence is of this. The brand that they're connecting with. And so as marketers, our job is really to take all of the noise that exists out in the world and really start to coalesce that into, what's the story that we're trying to tell. And then we hope that a majority of that sticks with our audience. I think that the notion that sometimes we tell stories, sometimes we listen to the stories that are being told to us, I think is a really important part of having that robust and complete marketing toolkit. So for example, when we relaunched our brand, our brand identity, our positioning, our product line, and just sort of like, how we are positioning our overall look, feel, and voice almost a year ago. And the strategy that we put into place both included a very, very thoughtful and crafted strategy around what we wanted to put out there. And we leveraged sort of more traditional, marketing channels and venues and tactics as in order to be able to have that we're pushing, because it was really important to us as we were rebranding to be able to control a large portion of that message. But it was also just as important to invite people to be part of that journey with us, because that's sort of who we are as a brand. We want to hear from our audience, and that, like I said earlier, that it really is part of our DNA. And so we had roughly a half split between what we were investing in, like social media versus conventional sort of push marketing. And I think that really worked for us. And a huge part of that was our first ever TikTok campaign, which, if you think about, I can't believe it was only a year ago, literally last September. But it was not only our first TikTok campaign, it was a lot of firsts for the platform in general. There were a number of things that we were the first sort of beauty brand to be doing within TikTok and taking advantage of some of their marketing tools on offer.
Yeah, well, let's talk about TikTok a little bit. I'd love to dive into kind of the success you've had there, how it started, what you learned, how you've made it awesome. So give me a sense of when you first started working on TikTok, what you did, how you sort of shifted and changed your approach to it, and then some of the great success you had.
Yeah, so we've actually been interested in TikTok since we've been interested in it since the beginning of 2019, which I know that doesn't sound like a long time ago, but in like the lifespan of a social platform that kind of explodes like a rocket onto the scene, it was actually quite early in the journey. I think about the content because I downloaded it and started kind of becoming addicted to it way back then. And the content was very different. It's always obviously had its roots in music, but there was a lot more like lip syncing videos. And it was sort of like there were only a handful of challenges or kind of themes that were popping up. And it was pretty early on for marketers in general on the platform, but we kept a dialogue going with the team at TikTok over the course of several months. And then by a few months in, so midway through last year, we decided that we really wanted to kind of go all in and do our first ever big hashtag challenge, which was inclusive of pretty much like all of the elements of the marketing offer that they had at the time, including things like the first ad when you first open the app, the sponsored hashtag challenge on the page, and we worked with 5 influencers to sort of tell the story of, our challenge was all about make it awesome. So, show us how EOS makes everyday moments more awesome in your life. And it was a huge success for us. We, within the 20-day period that we were running the hashtag challenge, we had accumulated over 3 billion views by the time that we were, I think, wrapping the numbers a week or two later, we were up to 4 billion views on our content. And it was just, it was kind of like mind-boggling, the scale at which things were the overall impressions and how quickly it was exploding. And I would say that it was early on. We were newbies. We didn't really know a lot about the platform other than as sort of casual users and what we knew from the very early kind of intrepid brands that were on the platform. And then we decided, you know what, let's go back in. So we launched our second campaign and then our third campaign subsequently a few months, each within like 3 to 4 months after. So at this point now we've run 3 campaigns on the platform in less than a year. And we've actually changed up our strategy each time because we're always looking to learn, right? So, you mentioned earlier, sometimes like people are, a little hesitant to try new. I love new, our brand loves new, and our audience loves new. And so we're always willing to, you can always just try. And if you can chalk it up to learning if it doesn't work. But for us, each time we were learning something brand new, that was really exciting for us. So, for the Christmas timeframe, we ran a purely influencer-driven campaign that was not part of like the big sort of sponsored like top view ad and the big kind of like branded challenge. But we were the first brand to sign up a little-known influencer named Charlie Dimelio. So we were the first brand that she worked with, and that alone had like generated tens of millions of views for us. So we've every time we go back, we learn something incredible about the platform and also about how we can bring our brand to life on it.
Well, so talk about the learnings you had with Charlie D'Amelio and some of the latest learnings. I mean, you started working with her early on. Like you said, she was just a little... was it luck? Was it intentional? How did you make that happen? And then what'd you learn from it on the other side?
Well, when we first started looking at the roster of creators who were available to us, I think she had, I believe it was like 4.5 million followers. She wasn't so little. I mean, I guess in the scale of TikTok numbers, maybe that seems like like on the smaller end, but she had a little over 4 million. By the time we actually ran the campaign, I think she was somewhere around 11 million. So in those few very short months, it was like maybe like 2 months, she basically over doubled her follower count. And obviously since then she's kind of exploded even beyond that. But, I would like to take credit for that and say that I have like the magic eye. But the reality is that we worked really hard with partners who, they kind of immerse themselves into the platform and really understand sort of, who's talented and who's right for the brand. And so, I would encourage any brands who are out there who are considering working, doing an activation on TikTok. You either have to really dedicate and invest the time yourself to understand the platform inside and out, or you really need to work with other people who do. And then when you work with other people who do, you have to trust their expertise. And that goes for both the partner that you bring on, but also the creators. Because I will say that our experience even working with creators and how we brief and then how we also kind of take in content has shifted over time as well. When we first launched in our first campaign last September, I think we were much more sort of we wanted to hold on to that content a little bit more tightly, and we wanted to direct and redirect, and then by the second and the third time, we just kind of let go a little bit and we let the creators do their thing. And that's actually been magical for us because we can't predict what's going to be successful on the platform, but the creators, that's what they do. That's what they excel at. And that's how they become as successful as they are.
Yeah. Trust the creators. So, we actually got Charlie D'Amelio here August 19th. at VidCon now, having we'll have a discussion with her. If we were to ask her that question, what did she learn from working with you guys, and how did she like it? How do you think she'd respond?
I mean, I hope it would be favorable. Actually, the wonderful thing about working with her was that she, because I don't know if it was because it was the first activation that she ever did, the first brand partnership that she ever did, but she actually kind of threw in a couple more videos in there for, just to be nice because she already created them. So it was actually wonderful to work with a creator who, was just very like generous with their time and just giving to be able to support the brand.
Oh, that's so awesome. So I know you talk a lot about views, and 4 billion views is amazing. But how else are you measuring success on TikTok? What are the other key success factors you look at?
Yeah, I think that the other major one for us is, the views are quantity, and for me, engagement is quality. And so actually the latest campaign that we actually ran it over just this past Easter. So as you can imagine, Easter was I guess it was like the first half of April. So, we were in a very, very unusual time as a country in the first half of April. And certainly for us, EOS, we're headquartered in New York City. We're sitting right in the epicenter of the pandemic at that time. And so we were still looking for a way to, just sort of tell a story and bring a moment to during a really important time frame for a lot of our consumers. Easter is a pretty critical time for our business and for our brand. And so, we kind of brainstormed and we thought, okay, so we've been thinking about doing an activation on TikTok. What can we do to bring a little bit more joy and entertainment into people's lives? So we concepted an activation on TikTok that was all about, so our little EOS eggs, like some people call them, we concepted something that was all about hiding them. So we thought, what, let's hide the eggs. Let's have our creators hide the eggs and do what they do, which is do wacky, distracting, entertaining stuff. And then we're going to ask the audience to actually count the eggs. And there will be winners for every single one of the correct guesses. So that was amazing because the secret to that was that we actually had people watching, rewatching, and rewatching the videos, and then we asked everybody to comment their guess. So what we ended up with was really high engagement, and it was really quality time spent, like maniacally staring at your screen, looking for EOS products. And that was intentional in the strategy because we really wanted to go sort of like you try out a tactic where it was like, if we've done the 4 billion views kind of approach, let's try something where we try to max out on our engagement rate. So that campaign actually had our highest ever engagement rate of the 3 that we did.
And I think we actually have a video, so we can take a look at a little of that while I look at really
really close. Get up close.
Wait, there,
and
I found
personal.
an Easter egg. I think it's right there. Well, let's take a look at that video. Very cool. I'm glad that did great. I have actually a question from the audience here that I'd like to go to about on this. How do you make sure your TikTok videos are relevant when you do them without coming across as kind of in-your-face marketing, which is what you just got from me, actually?
Yeah. So I think that's the key with this platform is that I think that even the most in-your-face marketing piece of content doesn't feel quite as in-your-face marketing as you typically see across other platforms, just because the nature of it is one where it's wonderfully weird and it's low production value, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense, and that's part of the joy and the beauty of it. And all of those things are things that I actually would encourage other marketers to really embrace, because that's the beauty of being on TikTok, is that you're kind of letting a little bit of your like the perfect and precise and preciousness of the brand storytelling. You're letting some of that go, but you're letting people into a more intimate and kind of real understanding of the brand that you are. And for us, that's, we've sort of embraced that. Like if you actually follow even our owned channel on TikTok, there's some weird stuff on there, and we love it. I mean, we make that ourselves. Nobody else is making that content for us. It's just our small but mighty team who's doing it.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because I saw a video there actually of you reacting to, I think, something that was going on TikTok around what, people eating your lip balm. Talk about that for a
It's a
minute. And then
thing.
I want to see this video.
Yeah, this is a thing. So basically, if you follow up on Twitter, you will literally see every day somebody tweets about how they couldn't resist eating their EOS lip balm. So
Let's look at the video while I hurl in my coffee.
Girl, don't do it. It's not worth it. I'm not gonna do it, girl. I was just thinking about it. I'm not gonna do it. I did it.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gearing up for my next career as a creator.
okay, so what's your next video then? What are you planning out? You have it all storyboarded out and everything?
I'll tell you, because I actually probably spend close to an hour just for entertainment purposes on TikTok like every day. And so I'm always brainstorming new ideas, but I'll tell you that like I'm long on concepts and short on execution. So I don't know when the next video is going to happen.
The beauty of TikTok is you just do it, right? I mean, it's such an easy platform to create on. You look at a lot of creators, obviously. Are there a couple of up and coming creators that you're excited about? Who are you watching these days?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, and it's so funny because like up and coming is I feel like by the time I found them, they've up and went, but there are quite a few that I love for very different reasons. My team and I have been like obsessed with Adam Ray OK, and his videos of Rosa. They're just hilarious, but they're real and they're authentic, and you feel like Rosa and like this character. I'm personally obsessed with I think her name is Nava Rose. She's got like over 2 million followers, and she has this unbelievable style, and she creates all these outfits. She sews them herself, and they look like they're the most gorgeous things you've ever seen. So what I love about the platform is that there's so many creators to get to know and to follow. And what I love is the breadth and the diversity of talent that they're always showcasing.
Yeah, absolutely. TikTok is an amazing place to lose an hour or two. Speaking of TikTok, what do you think about the latest news? I mean, there's so much going on and I have no idea what's happening, but how do you guys think about all this?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's something. We've been talking about it as a team, and I, like probably many other people, went online and downloaded, went on the App Store and downloaded a bunch of other apps this weekend as well. I was like,
Triller, Byte, all those guys, right?
I might as well just bone up on some other platforms. And that's actually, I shouldn't have to kind of get a kick in the pants to do that. That's something that as a marketer, I should be doing all the time anyway. And so it's just a good reminder that you always need to be thinking about diversification across platforms and always be looking for where you can tell your story next. And so, I think that I guess we've all got a reprieve until mid-September, and then we'll see what happens there. But I do think that the reality is that short form video that has this level of entertainment value isn't going anywhere. So the notion of short form video is it's either going to stay with TikTok or it's going to move over to another platform. But I think that the content type itself will continue to live.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked earlier about journeys and different platforms and platforms that you guys use. So tell me about the platforms that you've experimented with or that you use regularly that are part of your mix along with TikTok, and how you think about each. Are you very intentional about each platform, or do you try and do the same thing across those platforms? What's the way that you guys think about it?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been thinking a lot about what platform intentional marketing means to me. We actually, before we joined TikTok and gained a few 100,000 fans there, our main platforms were actually Facebook and Instagram, where combined we have over 9 million followers across the two platforms. And so we were doing the majority of our marketing through I would say probably mostly Instagram, although we continue to have a very active and large presence on Facebook. We have a presence on Twitter, but and we continue to view Instagram as a really key area for us to continue to communicate with our audience. I think anyone in the beauty world would be remiss if you weren't considering that very strongly within your marketing toolkit. But what I've noticed is that the inherent nature of the platform is obviously different. It's predominantly like photo based. It's a place where you're you opt in to follow brands or creators or friends. As opposed to on TikTok, there's a lot of discovery. And so you really have to think differently about what kind of content is going to work in one versus the other. Because within Instagram, what we find is that people are opting in to be a part of your journey. And so we really think a lot about why they're there. Within TikTok, I have no idea why they're there. And I have no idea what they're going to like or when they're not going to like something at all. And so with TikTok, we think about our content strategy as being throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. And that's okay because it's a relatively low production value. Don't take yourself too seriously. Be a little bit weird. As long as you're authentic and coming up with something fresh, like it's probably going to do okay. But like really trying is kind of like the big thing. Within Instagram, we think a lot about making sure that we stick that landing, and we don't want to bombard the people who have opted in to be part of our community on Instagram. Now, all of that said, what I've actually found over time is that authenticity, and I think accelerated by this pandemic and the fact that most of us don't have the ability to do like big productions, things like that, like real and authentic and down to earth content, and sometimes a little messy content, is actually resonating on Instagram as well. And so we've noticed a little bit of that sort of let's get real with people on Instagram and maybe not be so perfect on Instagram is actually kind of cutting through to our audience there too.
Interesting. It's interesting watching the platforms sort of react to what TikTok does along with other things. Before we move on, I want to just bring up a wonderful offer that you've given all of our audience, which is a discount on product. Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure. So we would love to invite everyone in the VidCon family to take part of 20% off of everything on our website. So we have a code. I think it's VidCon 20.
Yeah, VidCon 20. Looks like all caps. At least that's what I saw. So
all caps. We're shouting at you.
Yeah. So go to evolutionofsmooth.com, VidCon 20. Hopefully we popped up something on the screen. You can probably even click on it and go over there. But thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. I want to talk a little bit about beauty and creators as a global phenomenon. I mean, it's amazing. They're everywhere. I moderated a session this past weekend with some emerging creators, and I'm just amazed by their creativity, their artistry, just the wide variety of things they do, and the value and the warmth and the purpose that they give to their audience. Why don't you just share a little bit of your thoughts about this global beauty and influencer creator world and what you think and how you see your place in it?
Yeah, I love the beauty category. I've been part of this category and part of this community for, I guess, I think it's like close to 20 years of my career has been spent, somewhere like beauty or beauty adjacent. And so I think that one of the things that I love about it is that there is, inherently in this category, there's a lot of self-expression. And I think that comes to life and really thrives in the medium of social media because it's, there's so much about sharing and expressing yourself that's baked in no matter what platform you're on. And so I think that's a really key component that makes beauty and social media and creators like such a really great combo. I think the other thing that's really interesting is that beauty has always been, or at least since I've been in the category, has been a really entrepreneurial category. There's a lot of entrepreneurial activity happening across the board. And so when you have a lot of sort of startup disruptor entrepreneurial brands out there, they're willing to kind of like take risks and do things that maybe more conventional brands would not, or conventional categories wouldn't be willing to try. And I think that's another part of the reason why the community and the industry has really embraced not only social media, but every single new social media platform as well. So I love the category. I think it's so creative. It's so fun.
Yeah, it is. And it's just expanding out as well. How do you see the future of the beauty community and beauty social media marketing? There's a question from the audience, by the way. How do you see that going post-pandemic? Do you think it's going to change, just expand, different directions? Any thoughts on that?
I don't think it's gonna. I don't think that it's gonna go away. I think this is something that's here. I mean, beauty has actually really pioneered and exploded onto every new platform. The first YouTubers were like the makeup tutorial folks, and then next were were the Instagrammers sharing all of their amazing creations. And now you have TikTokers who are also sharing that. It's skincare by Hiram. Like you've got like all of these amazing creators across any platform, and that's all baked into sort of like the past. And I don't think that's going to change for the future. In fact, if anything, the pandemic has made it so that in person is much more challenging. And so, beauty, it's sort of I think it's for survival purposes, the category is really embracing digital and e-commerce just as out of necessity.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about tips working with creators and influencers. We were talking on LinkedIn before the session, back and forth, and you promised you were going to get up close and personal on LinkedIn with some marketing tips. So you want to share a couple of tips or best practices to work with creators and influencers across, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or anywhere?
Yeah, I think that for me, the key has been all around authenticity and working with people who really believe. I know that's something that we talk about a lot in the world of influencer marketing, but I really believe that it's true. I think that when we look at the success that we've had with partnering with creators over multiple kind of launches or stories or campaigns versus sort of partnering with creators once and then moving on to the next. I think that the former is really where we see a lot of value in unlocking that more authentic relationship and more real sort of reach to their audience. In fact, we actually, we did a co-creation partnership last year where we co-created a product line with a number of Instagram creators. And, we had a series of like 9 months of, sort of unveil posts that they did on Instagram. And we actually found, we compared it to, doing sort of influencers who came in at the last sort of just at the launch and did posts, and the engagement rates on the partners that we had kept along the way were sometimes 2 to 4 times higher than the ones that we brought on at that last minute. So I think it really speaks to the power of an authentic partnership versus something that isn't that authentic and feels like a one and done.
Yeah. Something I was looking at that you guys were doing that felt authentic to me, but it also reminded me of an OG YouTuber was Lip Balm Chronicles. Fascinating. But it reminded me of an early YouTuber, Annoying Orange. Dane Bodenhammer has been a long time VidCon feature creator, and he's there. His videos are amazing. I was even in one, like 1,400 other people at the second. Talk about Lip Balm Chronicles, how that came out, and then we're going to take a little clip and see if people see the Annoying Orange influence in it.
Well, so I have to be honest, we're always trying to come up. How many different TikTok videos can you do about lip balm? Like, let me just ask you, it gets pretty hard. And so our team amazingly came up with this idea. Actually, we didn't know about the Annoying Orange, and then you actually pointed out the similarities. I was like, oh my God, I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube on Annoying Orange. But honestly, Lip Balm Chronicles was born out of this desire to kind of create like a personification of our lip balms, so that our lip balms could start to star in our videos too. And so we've done a number of them, and our favorites are the ones that are sort of set to like the reality show audio clips.
Well, let's take a look at Lip Balm Chronicles.
You should get the orange soda. It's amazing.
Okay.
What would you ladies like to drink?
Orange soda, please.
I'll have the strawberry soda.
Me too. Strawberry soda.
I am so shocked.
That's wild. Are you going to do more stuff like this? Is this did the test work?
That video got like, I think it was like over 1 million views, like completely organically, which is kind of crazy, like because our community manager basically just did it with a Snapchat filter, and then uploaded it onto TikTok. And so yes, we've done a number of these Lip Balm Chronicle videos. We're sort of it was actually funny because that video I was like reading through the comments as I typically do, and it was the first time that I ever heard the term deep TikTok. It was like EOS has gone deep TikTok, and I was like, what does that mean? And it was before the New York Times wrote the article about like alt TikTok or deep TikTok, which I think is hilarious. But I think it just goes to show that like, the less you take yourself seriously on this platform, honestly, the better off you are. So we're looking for the next weird and wonderful bit of content to introduce on our TikTok.
All right, so give us a preview. What's the next weird and wonderful thing you're going to do? You don't have to answer that.
I don't know, but I'm obsessed. Have you seen the alpaca?
Yeah.
Alpaca? Like I was like, how do I do something like this? Because I'm like obsessed with this dancing alpaca. But anyway, I don't know what it is. To be honest, the next weird and wonderful. My team is just incredible, and they're obsessed with the platform, and they're always brainstorming content as well. So I'm sure they've got some ideas up their sleeve.
I don't think alpacas wear lip balm.
I don't think
Just between you and me here. Another question from the audience. Do you see more success in social media, traditional media, and how do you measure that success? I know we touched on that a little bit earlier, but I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into that.
It's just different. I think any marketer's toolkit has different tactics that you use for different things. Within traditional media, we've had success in terms of driving like more broad-based awareness by using traditional marketing and media channels. And then within social media, really, like I said before, it's been, I think before TikTok, we thought a lot about engagement. I think with TikTok, that sort of like that broad reaching impressions became suddenly within the conversation as well. And so it's been a conversation both of impressions and engagement. But really, it's always about balancing out like what the objective is. So as a brand and more broadly as a business, we have to think about what are we trying to do here and then match back the tactics to what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, makes sense. I want to talk a little bit, we have about 5-6 minutes left. I want to talk a little bit about e-commerce in general. And since we've all been locked down at home and since we've been in the middle of this COVID pandemic, I've heard a lot of reports that e-commerce numbers are through the roof. Mm-hmm. Talk about what you're seeing on your own site and whether you think this is sustainable or we're just going to go back to going to stores after it's all over.
Yeah, I mean, so like everybody else, we've experienced tremendous growth with e-commerce, both on our own site as well as through customers like Amazon and through like the .com portions of our major retail partners as well. We've seen growth in the area of like multiples on the e-commerce side of the business. I actually recently saw a McKinsey study that said that in 3 months in 2020. E-commerce penetration has grown as much as it did in the prior 10 years. So 10 years of growth in 90 days. Obviously, that was created by an exogenous circumstance of the pandemic. It wasn't like an organic growth. And typically when you see things that are kind of like forced, from an external perspective, you do see some sort of like a little bit of return to normal. But I think that we've completely set a new water level in terms of e-commerce behavior, because if we were at, I think the numbers that, the McKinsey number was like, it's like 15% before, and then now it's like close to 35% or something like that in terms of e-commerce penetration of retail sales. And so if we were somewhere closer to 15%, there's a lot of people who have tried ordering things online, doing pickup, ordering on, through, D2C, for the first time in the last quarter that had not typically done that behavior. And so no matter what, we've reset a higher water level for e-commerce that will stay at a higher water level. It may not be quite as high as it was as it's been at sort of during the height of the pandemic, but we're now settled into a higher level for the future.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about tips and strategies for taking advantage of that you've found. And if you were to talk to other marketers in a similar situation as you, what are some tips you would give them on managing through this crisis, managing e-commerce and using social media to its best effect?
I'll be totally honest with you. The past few months have been very trying for everybody. I think that the lack of clarity on what's coming down the bend has been really challenging for us and for every brand and every marketing leader, just leaders in general that I've spoken to. And so I think that I don't have specifics because everybody's business model is different and everybody's sort of in a different phase of where they are and what they need to do. But I think that for us, the biggest part of sort of surviving first, and then ultimately we think we're on a path to thriving, has been incredible flexibility. Like just the ability as an organization, as a team, and as a business to be able to pivot during the circumstance has been critical for us to be able to continue moving forward. And I think that that's something, it's a great skill to have and to hone, and it's something that shouldn't go away in the future, to be able to be nimble and reactive in your business. And then certainly e-commerce, digital, and social media are some of the most, sort of agile types of platforms in media that you can actually leverage. And so I think it's not surprising to see that a lot of brands are really turning to like full digital at a time when, maybe before that would not have been on the horizon for them.
Yeah, good stuff. I've got a couple more questions from the audience. And this one kind of goes back to the TikTok stuff we were talking about and some of the the data stuff that we touched on. But the question is, what's the challenge of running campaigns on TikTok, and how do you ensure sustainable ROI along with the risk-taking factors? Like, what are the things that you do to balance taking risk versus I need a return on this investment?
Yeah. I'm going to do the second one first, if that's okay. But I think so. I always believe that you have to dedicate a certain amount of your budget to just test and learn. And even if you don't ever get an ROI, I mean, and that'll be determined really by what your budget is and sort of what the risk appetite is within the organization. But whether it's 5% or whether it's 50%, you just have to land on a number that you're okay if the return isn't what you expected it to be, because the value that you get from learning and being able to even just like write something off, take something off your list is so much greater than not knowing. And so I really believe that test and learn should always be a part of your, like, it should be a budget line item for everybody. And then if it's sort of like, you know, when you go like to Las Vegas and you say, I'm going to count this as entertainment money. And as long as I don't spend more than this, I'm good. And if I win, I win. So, you know, it's a little bit of that as an analogy in terms of test and learn. You know, by and large, if you end up with a 50-50 hit rate, great. That's probably better than most people get. So I think that is an important part for any marketer, so that we're always embracing and learning about new tactics. I would say that in the case of TikTok, we've had like almost all good and almost no bad. I think that the thing that's a little bit more challenging is kind of understanding how much of the message that's out there is relevant to your brand. And so we often design our activations to kind of be as relevant as possible. And for us, that's also meant, you know, one of the reasons why we wanted to try out sort of this more influencer driven model was because we wanted to see what would happen when we like tripled or quadrupled the number of creators that we partner with, rather than investing that into the people who are in the discovery area. Because we felt like in the discovery area, you don't really know whether it's like a message on brand, because, you know, you see people tagging you with, you know, using your hashtag, like just to kind of like get their video seen. But if we can work with a set of 15, 20, 25 really great creators, we know we're going to be able to reach their audience with content that is, you know, specifically dedicated to the story that we want to tell. So so there are ways to kind of like design around it and try to mitigate that risk. But overall, our experience has been very positive.
That's awesome. One more question and one more group of questions. But before I do that, I want to remind everybody that you guys were nice enough to provide a discount code. Go to evolutionofsmooth.com. Use the discount code VidCon20, all caps, and get 20% off your next order. How was that? Was that good?
Jim, you're hired.
There you go. I want to be I got to get big on TikTok, work. And I'm going to be your spokesperson. Last question from the audience here is, how did you get to where you are in your career today? Talk about that journey.
Oh God, I could not have predicted this career path. Like I couldn't have possibly known that this is where I would end up. So I actually studied architecture as an undergrad. So I was either like architecture or engineer, bound from the early days. But the reality is that like I love marketing. I love that marketing is this, you know, for when it's great marketing, it's like the perfect mix between like strategic and analytical and super duper creative. And those are things that I just happen to like. But I love embracing both sides of my brain. And so I don't think there's any one path to get to a senior level marketing role within a brand. I think it's really just making sure that you're doing something that you're passionate about and that you love. And then within marketing in particular, I just happen to love this aspect of this function. But my path doesn't look like the typical path to where I am today.
Yeah, I love how you've combined the deep analytics side of it and the math side of it with the creative side of it. It's awesome. You guys, such a great job done at EOS. Soyoung Kang, thank you so much for joining us. Chief Marketing Officer for EOS Products. That's it for this session of VidCon Now. We are going to Discord though, so come on over to Discord. We'll be talking with Soyoung for a little bit over there, 15, 20 minutes. Some of the questions I didn't get to. I'm sure you've got a zillion questions as well. We've got an amazing lineup of content coming up over the next couple of weeks. Next Tuesday, same time, Cassie Roma will be here talking about how we deal with all the Zoom fatigue that we have, which I'm super excited about hearing. And you can find out much more about it at vidcon.com. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you on Discord.